I'm your boy Frost Busy, and this is a video about. Hey, this is a video. What's up, Soul Game family? Another day, another dollar in your pocket. I'm your boy Frost Busy, and this is a video about video review about caste system in America. You know, this lady might have wrote a book on it, but I didn't. Until I thought about it myself, her book didn't mean nothing to me. I figured it out myself, and her version of the caste system and my version of the caste system is different, but. By me going on YouTube and just putting in that word, then this is just the person that popped up. But other than that, I got a whole nother different view on the caste system. So here we go.
Juan Gonzalez is with us from New Jersey, and we're spending the rest of the hour with Pulitzer Prize.
And she a black lady too. Ain't it funny how they always get these black people to vouch for whatever crazy ass stereotype they want to put down, or whatever label that they want to validate, whatever, because it's a construct of your mind. They're trying to tell you something about history and they want you to believe it, so they got to get somebody. They know they can't get no white person to tell you, because you ain't gonna believe it. Because even when I'm looking at half of these videos, every time I see a white person explaining what's going on, I turn from that shit, because I know they full of shit, right? The fuck, they don't know me. How the fuck, even if they know history, they don't know me? I mean, I can't identify with that. How the fuck, that's just like me going over there and pretending to be white. They gonna reject that shit. They gonna say, nigga, you ain't white. You don't know me. And that's the truth. I don't know them. And what I mean by that is I'm not white, man. So I can't really all the way go do what they do. Plus, nigga, what I look like telling them who the fuck they is.
Wilkerson, whose new book...
Nigga, we can speak for ourselves. We don't, and so that's why they're using these fake-ass black people. That's what I'm saying. And then they always use a woman. I ain't gonna say they always use a woman. They got some of them fake motherfuckers like Obama. But I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about they do be using women a lot. These black women, oh, they ain't black, y'all. They straight up some damn... They a robot. Just put it like that. They like programmed, and they got this certain. They've been programmed with this information, and they get paid to tell the script the way that these people didn't told them to tell it.
Of Other Sons, which tells the history of the Great Migration and waves of African Americans moved out of the South to escape racism, only to face it again in the North. Well, in her new book, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, Wilkerson argues that based on her extensive research, America's racial hierarchy should be thought of as a caste system, similar to what she calls the world's most
See, what's so important about the caste system is that it ain't got no color in it. You know what I mean? It's like, it ain't black, white, Chinese, Mexican, and nothing like that. It got something to do with majority rule. That's my caste system. Whoever got the most people and whoever got the most sellouts, that's who rule. Because even though you might have the most people, you still got to have your little spies to keep all the black people in line, right? Your little sellouts and shit, like Obama and Camilla Harris. She ain't even black. We know that bitch ain't black. Her daddy ain't black either. Nigga look Hindu. Ain't nothing black about her father. So that's another motherfucking thing. They just gonna force something down your throat. This media. They just gonna force you to believe that man black. And every time you look at him, I don't give a damn if he came from Jamaica. You know how many Chinese Jamaicans they got? You know how many Mexican Jamaicans they got? You know how many Irish Jamaicans they got? Nigga, Jamaican ain't a fucking color. Jamaican is a slave master's name. So they named that little island after a slave master's name. So Jamaican don't mean you black. That shit mean you was a fucking slave. And anybody, it's just a fucking name, man. That's the point. Anybody could be a fucking Jamaican. So why couldn't you come from Hindu, India, and then told them like you could, they got dark skin too, and then played it off like he was black. Hell no, he ain't black. That motherfucking bullshit out my face. If he was black, why is she locking up all the motherfucking black people? If she was black, why is there so much racism in India? If she was black, why the fuck do they got a caste system in India, and the more darker you are, the lower you are on the totem pole. So if she was black, motherfucker, she'd be the lowest motherfucker on the totem pole, and so that's bullshit.
recognized caste system
In India. If you dark in India,
also looks at how
you like
Nazi
garbage,
Germany
nigga.
borrowed from Jim
They
Crow
call your
laws
ass an
of the United
untouchable.
States. They were
If you black in India, nigga, they hate you so much. They say we can't even touch these motherfuckers. They like garbage. We gotta throw their ass out with the trash, nigga. They lower than dog poop, nigga. The fuck you talking about? They can call them the untouchables. And this lady gonna talk about, oh, Martin Luther King went over there to talk to Gandhi to make peace with the world so he can learn how to give his I Have a Dream speech. Fuck Martin Luther King. That motherfucker, he don't even know how the fuck he went to the most racist country in the world that was discriminating against black people and get to talking about he trying to get along and learn something from a motherfucker who don't even like black people. I'm talking about Gandhi. And Martin Luther King had to be a sellout. Because what the fuck are you doing over in India, motherfucker? What you gonna tell them motherfuckers? They don't even give a fuck about your ass. What the fuck you talking about? You went over there to help the poor people in India. Nigga, India running America now. They didn't need your bitch ass. So I guess you just went over there to make black people in the future. They did that shit so that the people in the future would think that India was cool. But I don't think India is cool. And I'm looking at that big ass Indian president we got, Kamala Harris, and she ain't cool. So now what, you fake ass Martin Luther King? Kiss my ass. You fake ass sellout motherfucker.
Wilkerson writes, quote,
they used his ass, man,
of all three
to pacify. Everybody know they used his ass to pacify black people, to fucking send black people down that fake ass road, that I Have a Dream shit, instead of sticking together and fighting for their shit and being like the Chinese and Mexicans and having your own little area and having your own little fuck some politicians, your own little, like the Black Panthers or some shit like that, to where it was like your own community policing and community politics and community welfare, to separate from this fucking American welfare, because all they gonna do is go get some immigrants and make them the new motherfucking white man slave master and re-enslave the black people. And not only is they gonna do that, but they're gonna overpopulate this place, and where it ain't gonna be no jobs, motherfucker gonna be living like he was living in India or Mexico, because it ain't only job you can get, nigga, is the police or a prison guard, watching the other fucking inmates, which we make them every day. Hell yeah, there wasn't as many inmates in America before Vietnam. After Vietnam and they let all them refugees over here, that's when the prison boom started. And America, what you talking about, they trying to stop crime or they trying to stop building prisons? That's a damn lie. Nigga, prisons made America rich. Prisons is what America was built on. What you think slavery was? Nigga, prison is what the fuck America was built on. Why would they fuck, no, nigga, they need more prisons and they need the, job security. So all these immigrants and shit they sending over here is job security, because it ain't gonna be enough jobs to go around. It's gonna be turmoil. It's gonna just be a whole bunch of chaos, and that's gonna lead to more crime and more just suicide and just total chaos, man. Just total insanity. The people gonna be fucked up. Put it like that. They're gonna fuck the people up with that shit, and because the people is gonna be like, these politicians ain't doing shit for us. We ain't got no rights. Everybody running us over, and the police just locking us up. And then that's gonna cause the people to be like, well, I ain't got no choice but to either commit crime or get off in the streets and start marching or just tearing this motherfucker up. And that's what they want, so they can just lock as many motherfuckers up as they can, because people is like gold, especially black people. That's free money, man. They didn't want to set them slaves free. That's free money, and they didn't set them free. They went from slavery to the building to the penitentiary. They didn't set them free. That's what Jim Crow was about. And now they're bringing in a new slave masters to make sure they never ever gonna be free.
I began to compile the parallels in a more systematic.
That's what all this immigration is about.
Essential shared characteristics of these hierarchies, what I call the 8 pillars of caste, traits disturbingly present in all of them. Isabel Wilkerson, welcome back to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us, but I want to start by asking you about what just happened here in this country. You know, you write in your book about Dr. Martin Luther King's month-long visit to India, when he visited with high school students whose families had been so-called...
There you go. There you go. Look at him. He looked like he with Camilla, don't he? Don't this look fake, dude? What was he gonna do to help them people? I told you they racist over there and they don't like black people. Nigga, you can go on YouTube and look it up. Look up racism in India. Nigga, you will find out. So this is bullshit, this picture that they're showing you.
Untouchables, and how he was then called one. And
Call
that
yourself
relates
an untouchable. Get your bitch ass out of here.
To Joe Biden's choice as his vice presidential candidate, his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris. She becomes now the first woman of color.
So they're going to say, oh, because Martin Luther King went over there, that's why Joe Biden chose Kamala Harris. You a goddamn lie. So they basically saying she black. You a motherfucking lie. We know she ain't black. Get that bullshit lie. So even this white lady on the TV, I told you I don't listen to their ass. Anything coming out their mouth. It's been a lie. They've been the slave master. So what make me think they're gonna tell me the truth now?
To be nominated for national office by a major political party. She is the daughter of immigrant students whose families have been so-called untouchables, and how he was then called one. And that relates directly to Joe Biden's choice as his vice presidential candidate, his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris. She becomes now the first woman of color to be nominated for national office by a major political party. She is the daughter of immigrants. She is African American, her father from Jamaica, and her mother from India.
So how the fuck do that make her African American? I don't give a fuck if she ain't no fucking DOS. She ain't no descendant of no slave. She wasn't never no fucking slave in no America. Nothing about her is slavery. So what the fuck she talking about? She an African American. African Americans were slaves, not these new motherfuckers coming over here talking about, oh, my skin color make me black. No, it don't, motherfucker. You have no connection to to the fucking tragedy and the slavery and the all the brutality and the struggle that them slaves went through. You can't take credit for that. And that's what this fake ass white lady is trying to give her credit for that. Hell no.
So she's the first Indian
She
American
as fake as Obama. He ain't never been no slave either. He ain't no DOS.
If you can comment on the significance.
These are these motherfucking plants that them CIA, these babies, these people is plans. These people growed up. The government groomed them to be where they at now. Just like they groomed Obama. They groomed Camilla. That fake ass shit out of here.
Significance of this.
The significance of this is that so many long stunts have been overcome or have been crossed. To have someone who's the first woman of color, the first woman of African descent, the first woman of Indian descent to be nominated for a major party.
That's why they gave her a Pulitzer Prize.
Think about how many barriers had to be crossed. It's taken 244 years to get to this day.
She can try to trick me. She can kiss my American flag, though.
To the visit that you write about in Caste, that visit that Martin Luther King made to the state of Kerala in India. He was there in India for a month. He visited with high school students whose families had been untouchables. Well, in a speech to the Los Angeles World Affairs Council in February of 1965, Dr. King describes his visit and the introduction that was given of him by the principal.
As he came to the end of his introduction, he said, I would like to present to you a fellow untouchable from the United States.
Don't you see this as a plan?
I was peeved, I was shocked.
That's why they put Camilla like...
Pretty soon my mind ran back across to America. And I started thinking about the fact
like he chose Camilla to be the president.
With so many places that I couldn't go.
Why didn't you go to China and do that then?
Because of the color of my skin.
Because it's a plan.
I started thinking about the fact.
Propaganda.
that my 20 million brothers.
Now they using him to validate Camilla. Ain't that bull crap? She don't do nothing but lock up black people, black mothers, because their kids is late to school. Get out of here. Sound like Hitler to me.
Unable to live in numerous neighborhoods.
That's why they call this dude a sellout.
The color of their skin. I started thinking about the fact that my little children were still judged on the basis of the color of their skin rather than the content of their character. And I had to say to myself, I am an untouchable, and every Negro in the United States is an untouchable.
No, you ain't, nigga. You's a gold nugget. You use money, and they ain't letting their money go. They need to have that prison class, and the caste class. This is the class system. That's what I'm talking about. That's what the review is about, class. And they call it caste system, but it's class. And the class, inmate, middle class, which basically is the police force, the buffer force, to protect the rich from the poor. So they got this middle class, what they call a middle class, but it's really the police class, and they protecting the upper class, rich people from the poor people. That's all this is.
That is Dr. Martin Luther King speaking in 1965.
They bringing over their new police force, and they're going to be in the army in a minute, too.
To India. Isabel Wilkerson, you write magnificently about this journey.
To put black people back in slavery.
How you came to...
So you get this black slave master out of my face.
Like others look at India, talking about the centrality of caste. Tell us more about Dr. King's visit to India.
Well, he had arrived in 1959, obviously inspired by the country and by the leadership of Mohandas K. Gandhi, who had inspired his nonviolent approach to freeing African Americans from the grip of what he ultimately would identify as a caste system in his own country in the United States.
Gandhi,
and so he arrived to...
How the fuck Gandhi gonna help you free some black people, and he a racist too, and he don't like black people?
Visit the school, and as we so eloquently heard his reciting, recalling that experience, at first when he was identified or he was introduced to the children, to the students there, as an untouchable, the word landed a little oddly for him because he hadn't thought of himself in that way. And as he considered and scrolled back into his memories of
now, I understand the concept of untouchable, right? That's we garbage, they're gonna throw us away. Ain't no garbage. We making them rich. We free labor, we free everything. We the slave class, and without the slave class and the prison industry, America would be not broke, but they couldn't hold us down. They need that prison industry, and they need somebody to sacrifice. And who you think gonna get sacrificed? Right? Because they gotta have a caste. They gotta have the poor people that they can make the slaves and do all their free work and fill up their prisons, and so they can create jobs for all the immigrants. Because the poor is going to be the jobs for the immigrants, right? The immigrants talk, oh, the land of milk and honey, let's go. Where the jobs at? Holding these niggas down over here. That's the job. Oh, thank you, Mr. White Man. That's what the fuck is happening.
And experiences and recognition of all of the things
thank
that have
you for
been
a job.
Restricted for both him and
so now we could be the new white, the new slave master.
Fighting for. He himself, Dr. King, recognized that America had beneath its infrastructure.
How the fuck did a Hindu become the
that was not as different from India
be the first black lady president? Get the fuck out of here! What we need a Hindu for to be the first black president, black woman president? That sounds fake as fuck.
Your earlier book was so marvelously written. And I wanted to ask you about a particular...
And this clown-ass wicked witch up there...
section of it where you write, caste is the bone, race is the skin, caste is fixed and rigid, race is fluid and superficial, subject to periodic redefinition to meet the needs of the dominant caste in what is now the United States. If you could expound for those of our readers, of our viewers who haven't read your book yet, this relationship that you tried to delve into between caste and race.
Well, first I want to say that I came to the concept of race through the first book that I wrote, The Warmth of the Suns, in which I was writing about the flight of 6 million African Americans who were escaping the Jim Crow South And in writing about what they had endured, writing about what the Jim Crow South was actually like, a lot of Americans have not really...
So they said that it was so bad in the South. Them white people were so prejudiced and out to exterminate the black people. It scared the shit out the black people. They had to run away, just as if they was like they was the Jews or something, and leave that motherfucking leave the slaughterhouse, which was the South, and run up to the North. And when they got up there, it was a trap, because now they got to get a job, and then if you got to get a job, then you depended on the system, and now you really got to sell out. Because now you ain't got no farm and shit where you growing your own food and making your own money and in control of your own economic destiny. Now somebody else is in control of your economic destiny. So in order to get a job, you have to do what they say, which is be an undercover slave master like them. But they're going to hire you because they need you to sell your own people out.
Gotten that true exposure to what it was like to live in that world where everything that you could do or could not do is based upon what you looked like, that it was actually against the law for a black person and a white person to play checkers together. So I was recreating that world.
Who gives a fuck about playing checkers together? What the fuck I want to play checkers with some motherfucker that's trying to put me in jail and bring in some more immigrants to make sure I don't have a job. And I gotta either go crazy, go to the mental institution, or go to jail. Get the hell out of here. Fuck do I want to play checkers with some motherfucking demon for? Let alone listen to your demonic ass.
World. I did not use the word racism
because trying to
it did not
me
seem
out.
sufficient.
Fuck, I look like playing checkers with some motherfucker trying to kill me and throw me in jail. Get out of here.
So that calls upon us to think about, well, what does caste mean? What is caste? So
you heard that retarded ass lady play checkers with some white folks.
Grading, an artificial graded ranking of.
You stupid ass lady. The white folks didn't have no black people even around them. While black people were scared to go around white people back then. What is she talking about? Nigga, wasn't that? It was, they passed a law. You can't, the white people and the black people can't play checkers together again. You a motherfucking lie. The white people didn't need no fucking law. You come around their ass and you gonna get your ass beat. How about that law?
Of human value in a society, and it's one in which
just like when the police pull you over, they don't pull you over talking about, oh hi, have a nice day, let me give you the ticket and get on your way. No, they be like, nigga, let's rumble. You got anything in your car? You got any reason for me to shoot you in the back? You got any reason for me to lock you up? Come on, nigga, let's rumble. Hell no, nigga, I ain't stopping you because you free and you black and you got rights and Martin Luther King saved your ass from me. Nuh-uh, he set your ass up. Now it's time to get your karma.
There's a fixed infrastructure that in our country predates anyone who's alive today. It goes all the way back to colonial times when the country was being formed. And a caste system essentially determines one's standing, the respect accorded a person, the benefit of the doubt, access to resources or the deprivation of access to those resources, even such things as assumptions of competence and beauty. So this is the hierarchy that we have all inherited.
Competence
that no one
and beauty?
created,
The fuck are you talking about, bitch?
And we live under the shadow of that system.
Sound like some feminist shit.
You also write about what you call the middle caste of
beauty got to do with slavery.
Indigenous people and new immigrants of African descent, who you say navigate within what began as a bipolar hierarchy. I'm wondering if you could explain that, and also why you chose to include indigenous people in the middle caste, when some would argue that certainly in the...
You heard him say the middle class, the middle caste, right? Them is gonna be the police, nigga. The lower class is gonna be the slaves. Remember, that's how this shit is worked. They need that shit to function like that, so that the rich people can be protected from that. And they can exploit and make money off them people through their misery.
United States,
through locking their ass up for free.
Latin America, there has been a long existing caste system toward the native peoples, whether it's in Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Mexico, and of course in the United States. Why you felt that the indigenous people should be included among this middle caste?
Well, first of all, the caste system, as I'm describing it, we have to go back to where it began. It began with the creation of the country, in which the people who were the colonists, who were British, placed themselves obviously at the top of the hierarchy, and then brought people in from Africa to be the enslaved people, who would automatically, by definition, be at the very bottom.
And then brought the other immigrants over to watch their ass, to be the police to watch them.
There also were, of course, the indigenous people who were the First Nations of this
or
this
they
land,
used the blacks
who
against
then
the
were
blacks.
in some ways exiled from the caste system that was being created as in a bipolar caste system. So in many respects, and I also say that they are in some ways forced to be outside the caste system in the ways that the colonists devised it, by forcing them off of their land. The bipolar caste system meant that there were basically two main groups that were the foundation that the country created. And then anyone entering this bipolar caste system then had to figure out where did they fit in, had to somehow navigate what had been created as a two-tiered system. And
they fit in as the police and the new workers.
That created had to
they
also
fit in as the
decide,
police and the new workers. Niggas taking all the jobs, making sure niggas got to go to prison or be homeless on the street,
what
nigga.
Their lineage might have been.
That's how they fit in.
They come from. So,
keep a nigga in slavery.
When people were arriving, say from Europe, they were not from outside of Northern Europe. They were not necessarily thinking of themselves as white. The white was not a label that had been applied or needed to be applied, I should say, to someone who was living in 16th century of what would now be Ireland or Hungary or Poland. In other words, people who were arriving to the United States in the early decades and even century of history in the United States were not arriving as white people in their minds. They were arriving as Irish or Polish or Hungarian. Upon arrival, though, they were assigned to the category, essentially a new category. The idea of race is a fairly new one, going back only about 500 years, race as we currently know it. So they had to then navigate and readjust their identity in order to meet the expectations of this.
And them people was indentured servants, right? But an indentured servant ain't the same as a slave. Indentured servants, they do a certain amount of servitude and then they get freed, right? And plus they look like the white man because they is the white man. So remember, the only reason they didn't make white people slaves is because you can't keep track of them, and they could easily escape because how could you tell they was a slave if they look like you? But black people was easy because all you have to do is look at the color of their skin and say, boy, where your papers at to say you free? And it's easy to find you. So that's why they was easy. That's why black people became the slaves, because it was easy to catch their ass. It was too hard to catch a white person. How you was gonna know they was a slave? But the point is, the white people, they was indentured servants. They do their time and they get off and they can be free and buy their own land. Black people, no, they passed a law that them niggas was slaves forever. Wasn't no indentured slavery for black people. They was just slaves. Forever, property, nigga. That's different from being an indentured slave. Indentured slave is like having a damn job and you get paid, and after you get paid, you go buy your own shit and get your own slaves. That's different from being a black man who came over here and he didn't have them privileges. He just was a slave for life.
Caste system that they were entering. And so did other people who were coming from other parts of the world. The United States in the late 19th century and early 20th century went to a great deal of trouble to curate its population, particularly those who were not coming from Northern Europe. And so anyone coming from outside of Northern Europe then had to be fit into this caste system. And that meant that there was a tremendous amount of dissolution and a tremendous amount of restlessness about trying to figure out who would fit. So there were a lot of legal challenges of people coming from Asia, people coming from other parts of the world to petition for the recognition of citizenship, petition ultimately for the recognition of being able to fit into what was the category of the dominant caste, which would have been white or Caucasian at that time. And so this is a work in progress. It's always been a work in progress. And so anyone coming in from outside of what these poles that were arbitrary random designations of human beings, ended up having to find a way to navigate, and it created this these stressors and tensions between groups as they tried to figure out how to survive in an often forbidding bipolar structure.
And you bring in Nazi Germany, Isabel Wilkerson. If you can explain...
They already knew how to survive. They was going to be the buffer class, and then they was going to feed like cannibals off of the slave class. They was going to come over here like parasites, and then they was going to feed off the bottom class people that was already here. So the white folks imported them to be motherfucking... The parasites to feed off the slaves that was already here and keep them in slavery.
How
bondage.
It was the United States and the Jim Crow laws that inspired the Nazis. Explain how that all fits together with caste.
Well, I have to say that my main focus in the beginning was to look for the
That's bullshit. What was the Nazis gonna learn from that shit, nigga? They already knew that ain't nobody, nigga, they was already slave masters. How you gonna tell the slave master to be a better slave master, teach him to be a better slave master, and he the one taught you how to be a slave master?
Parallels or the intersections, the point of intersections that would help us understand.
Germans was already slave masters.
Focused on the United States, but to help us understand our own country through what we might learn from how other countries have managed their hierarchies. And what brought me to Germany was actually Charlottesville, and that was there in the protests against the potential removal of the statue of Robert E. Lee, that the ralliers themselves displayed the symbols of the Confederacy and the Nazi party, of the Nazis, in this one space. We saw the pageantry of the symbols coming together over...
She talking about that Confederate flag, and it's the same thing as the Nazi flag, which is basically the same thing as this fake-ass American flag, right? All pirate flags, slave master flag. Britain was a pirate culture, nigga. They go out and rob people, enslave them, and then get rich off of them, off their labor and their misery.
The issues of memory of the Civil War, memory of slavery, memory of American history in general. And so
the Confederate flag is what she's talking about.
These two together, these two symbols together, these two cultures together. And that was the reason why I decided to look more closely at Germany. I was looking primarily to find out how had they managed to understand, re-educate themselves and the society, atone for what had happened during World War II. How had they remembered what had happened? And so the deeper I looked, it turned out that
She already told you that the immigrants did not consider themselves white, like I said too. They consider themselves Irish, German, Italian, French. Nigga, they ain't call themselves no white man.
I discovered things that I never would have imagined. One of them having to do with the fact that German eugenicists were in contact with, in continuing dialogue with American eugenicists in the years and decades leading up to the Third Reich. That American eugenicists wrote books that were big sellers in Germany in the years leading up to the Third Reich. Now, the Nazis needed...
That word American is bullshit, y'all. Them people is what I said, German, Italian, and all that, nigga. They did not consider themselves American. So they come over here and hide behind that word American, and then they do every motherfucking thing to blind you that they ain't no fucking American. They their own culture, and they keeping the people that believe that they're American dumbed down and trapped in that fake ass word, black and white.
No one to teach them how to hate. They absolutely needed no inspiration for how to hate or how to enact that hate. But what they did was they sent researchers to the United States to study the Jim Crow laws here in the United States, to study and to research how the United States had managed to subordinate and subjugate its African-American population. They sent people to research the miscegenation, anti-miscegenation laws. They sent them to understand and to study the segregation laws. And then they went back and they debated the American laws in the run-up to creating what would ultimately become the Nuremberg laws. These were just stunning and wrenching things to discover in the process of this work.
See, she ain't gonna talk about the Nuremberg laws. She gonna say them was some racial laws against the Jews, right? But remember, them laws only lasted for about 6 years, right? Because the Jews didn't get put in them concentration camps until like the 40s. You know what I mean? Even though Hitler came into power in the 30s, all them laws and shit that she talking about, that shit didn't get applied until like 42 or 43, 41 or something, almost the end of the war. So, and that's when they was putting them in them concentration camps. So how's them laws? No, it ain't, nigga. They just locked up the Jews because that was their plan to make it look like so the Jews could claim to be victims. But other than that, no, that fake ass law. What law, motherfucker? How the fuck could you make a Nuremberg law and it only lasts 3 years, and then 3 years after that, the Jews got their own motherfucking country called Israel. Palestine, go over and steal Palestine from the Palestinians. So how the fuck was they up under some oppression of a law that only lasted for 3 years? And they trying to make this shit seem like it was eternal and it had already always been there. See this bullshit? And then
we
you
only
try to
have
compare that
30
to
seconds
racism in
left,
America.
Isabel Wilkerson, but you relate the story of talking to Gwen Ifill at a party, being deeply concerned, this is before the presidency of Donald Trump, that he would win, and you cited 2042. Why?
I mentioned 2042 because that is the year that was projected in 2008 by the census as to be the year that the demographics of the United States would change to a configuration that no one in the country of in any space had ever imagined, and that would be where the historic white majority would no longer be the majority, and that in fact the configuration that we've known for all of American history would be changing, and that has an impact on everyone in the hierarchy, everyone in the country, everyone in society, to try to figure out how do we work toward a space in which everyone can feel seen and feel that they are recognized as citizens.
She talking about the Americans, they plan to, remember Vietnam, after they went over there talking about we going over here to help free these Chinese folks. Next thing you know, the Chinese folks over here coming over on boats and shit by the millions. So they didn't free no motherfucking Chinese folks. They re-enslaved, they brought their ass over here to put the black people back in slavery. So, and then they talking about, the population is, the white people ain't gonna be the majority population no more. Hell no, Asians is, and Spanish gonna be second. So what's the difference in first and second? Nigga, y'all both still running shit. So it ain't no difference. And so the caste system, so what they trying to say is that the Chinese gonna be first, the Spanish, Mexicans gonna be second, the Spanish people, and then the white people gonna get demoted to third, and then whatever left over, the black people, that's what's going to be left over for y'all, which is going to be a damn pandemic in the penitentiary. And unemployment, nigga, and more police and racism.
This country.
That's what you just said.
Isabel Wilkerson, we're going to do part 2 of this interview of this incredible book, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents. Isabel Wilkerson, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and winner of the National Humanities Medal. Part 2 coming up at democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Stay safe, wear a mask.
Yes, Juan Gonzalez. Thank you, Juan Gonzalez. Thank you, Juan Gonzalez. You hear that bullshit, y'all? You hear that bullshit?
He's an international peace icon who helped India gain independence, and his ideology of non-violent resistance continues to inspire leaders and revolutionaries. But his legacy is changing in some parts of the world. This statue was removed from a university in Ghana after students rallied against it, all because they say that Mahatma Gandhi was racist. A statue of the leader was also...
The fuck was his statue doing in fucking Africa? If you don't get that bullshit out of here, what the fuck we need? That's just like putting a white man's statue over there. The fuck is y'all talking about? You have never seen no fucking black statue in India, ever. So how the fuck do they do that? That's just like taking a Chinese statue and bringing it to Africa, or taking a black statue and taking it to China. The fuck is they talking about?
protested in California, and
that motherfucker racist and he don't represent me. And I'm looking at his motherfucking statue. What the fuck is my statue? I'm my own fucking people.
another one was vandalized in South Africa.
Sound like some Camilla Harris bull crap.
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in India, trained as a lawyer in England, and worked in South Africa for more than 20 years. He experienced his first...
So you see, he was born as a lawyer, and he was prominent, and he looked like he was kind of like in the upper class. He wasn't no broke motherfucker like they'd be trying to portray him to be. Oh, he was starving, going on fast, hunger strikes. And he got on some damn raggedy-ass clothes and shit, you know what I mean? That's the way they projected him. But at the beginning, we just seen that that man was not broke. I think he an agent.
act of racial discrimination when he was thrown off a first-class cabin of a train in South Africa, despite having a ticket. It prompted him to mobilize the community to march.
It prompted him to turn into Rosa Parks and think he was Martin Luther King. That a bitch.
5 times in South Africa.
Stop comparing these motherfucking racist ass people to fucking slaves in America. Black slaves, DOS, descendants of black slaves in America. You see how the media is mixing shit up?
He returned to India in 1915.
Them fucking people don't even talk to you if you walk down the street. You can walk down the street and see one of them people with the dot on their head. They'll look at your ass like, police, police, and you don't get this nigga away from me. Don't he know I'm in the upper class?
He became a leader in the Indian
Peasants don't talk to me.
And fought for independence against British rule.
What's
One
wrong
of
with
his
y'all?
boldest acts of civil disobedience was leading the Salt March.
Nigga, this is India, not no motherfucking America.
In 1947, India gained independence from Britain. 6 months later, Gandhi was assassinated by a Hindu extremist. Even after his death, he continues to inspire civil rights movements across the world. But it was Gandhi's early writings in South Africa that have cast a shadow on his legacy.
Hearing this motherfucker, the Mandela, Obama, and Martin Luther King, they was all fucking fake as fuck, sellouts. All of them.
During a speech in Mumbai in 1896, he spoke
to black
of a savage, half-heathen nation.
Why don't you go compare that motherfucker to George Washington or something? Or Trump. Why don't you compare that motherfucker to Bush? George Bush. What you trying to compare that motherfucker to some broke-ass black people for?
The derogatory slur for blacks in South Africa.
Descendants, DOS, descendants of slaves.
Some accuse Gandhi of believing in the superiority of the Aryan race, thinking that blacks were inferior to whites and Indians.
We know that motherfucker was in that caste system, and he was in the upper class.
Was to demand a separate entrance for Indians at post offices, so they were not powerful with blacks. So why do many see Gandhi as an icon of justice? Critics of Gandhi say that his writings from his stay in South Africa contrast with what he wrote in his autobiography later on in life. He effectively tidied up some of his earlier views. But others counter this portrayal of Gandhi. They say that his prejudice was born out of a colonial context and reinforced by the fact that at this stage he had had little contact with Africans. And after serving as a volunteer to injured Zulus during the Boer War in South Africa, he realized the brutality of whites against...
They say he was in a war with the white folk. They say he was over in Africa helping these white folks talk to, pacify the black people, right? So he was like a mediator. He was a go-between, right? I say he was a spy, and he was telling them all the information they needed so that they can go attack the black people later in Africa. That's what I say it was, because it was a war. And the Indians was backing up the white man. So he didn't go over there as no fucking peacemaker. He went over there as a spy to find out where them black people was and to talk to them and be a spy, and then go behind their backs and tell the white man where to find their ass and how to get rid of them and who was their leaders. That's basically what he was going to find out, who the leader was, the black leaders was. He was going to snitch on them, send that army, that British. Because remember the British, they didn't do just, I told you they kind of like the Jews. They don't do their fighting. They use mercenaries. They go over and hire your own people to fight against you. So then the British hired the India to go over there and fight them Africans. They always put in the movie that the British the white boys was fighting them blacks by themselves. That's a damn lie. They used India to help conquer Africa. That's why so many Indians in South Africa.
Against blacks and
They helped the white man enslave the Africans. So that's another thing they don't write in the history book. They always talk about, oh, the black people sold the black people into slavery to the white man. You a motherfucking lie. Them armies went over there and crushed the damn the black people. Then they forced them people to do whatever, to sell out, to sell their own people. They forced them. And my point was, India was always an ally to Britain, and they helped enslave the black people. And they don't put that in the history books.
Nelson Mandela, an anti-apartheid hero, has called Gandhi a hero. In 1995, he wrote that Gandhi must be forgiven and judged in the context of time and circumstances. So, is Gandhi's legacy under threat?